Good everyone. I hope you guys had an amazing day. So this is the last episode I wanted to cover with respect to experience cloud certification. So I found this old um, kind of a certified community cloud when the experience cloud used to call community cloud. So I found this document online, and just the reason why I look for it just to so I can talk about a few sample questions and answer, which you might expect in the certification. The only thing I just wanted to mention, um, wherever they mention the community cloud, just assume it's experience cloud. Rest is pretty much the same because the Salesforce changed the name, right? So otherwise, the concept is pretty much the same, right? Okay, let's look at the question and answer, right? So universal containers rolled out a community, which is pretty much means Experience Cloud, in the customer service template for employee. Remember, we talked about different templates, right? When we are doing uh, the building a site, right? You have a customer service portal, you have partner portal, different stuff, right? So I hope you remember that. The CEO of the following CEO has the following requirements. All employee can participate in discussion within the community. So basically, they wanted to build like a community stuff where employee can make a discussion. So something that rings the bell is the chatter, right? Something we have in the Salesforce. Create a chatter group for corporate announcement where all the employees can participate and they can put their comments. The post in the group should be visible and feed. It's pretty much like a chatter functionality. Okay, so how should Salesforce admin accomplish this task? They're talking specifically on the Experience Cloud side. So let's look at the following options. Create a chatter group in the internal org and create a trigger to make the post visible to everyone. Create a post on the custom object announcement that all employees follow. This is a pretty straight no because you're not talking with a custom object. When we have a standard functionality, why even bother to do customization, right? And the same goes with the first because why you create a trigger? That's a customization. You don't need to create a trigger, right? That make no sense. Okay, so the A and B is gone. Create a chatter group in the community and includes all the employee or create a chatter group in the internal sales. Okay, so the last one would be useful if you're talking about the normal Salesforce org, but we're not. But we're talking about the Experience Cloud side. So obviously the D1 is gone. So the answer will be create a chatter group in the community. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this certification question and answer, right? So that you can, to show you how you can, identify certain and remove the non-related answers so that you can reach the right answer to that specific question. Okay, so I believe that this is the C in this case. Okay? I mean, okay, let's look at the question number two. Universal Containers is launching a community or experience cloud to drive the channel sales. Okay, the requirements are as follows. So integration with back office legacy system that supports API level integration and Salesforce Connect. So they want to integrate with the back office system which supports Salesforce Connect, right? Obviously, you know about Salesforce Connect, right? So you have a Salesforce org and you wanted to integrate with an external system. You'll make the connection and you can view the data. So you don't have to bring the data over. You can just view the data, okay? So this integration does not exist today, okay? Integration with a pricing and coding tool. The integration exists today for the internal user. So we have integration with the coding system. You're not talking about the uh, okay. I mean, Salesforce have CPQ, but I presume they're not talking about that. So they said there's an existing integration that exists for an internal user in the Salesforce org. The first integration, that is the Salesforce Connect, do not exist. So just don't worry about it for now. External partner user must be able to configure the code using the pricing and the coding tool from the community. So the external partner user, right, should be able to make a code and configure it and kind of stuff. Uh, so the coding and pricing tool must support community user, which is good. Universal container own license for the Salesforce Connect. Okay, so obviously they have a license for it. And so the coding tool should support community user, right? What are the two most efficient ways for a Salesforce admin to accomplish this task? Okay, let's look at the question answer. Let's look at the options what we've given. Integrate the back office legacy system using custom code development. That's pretty no, because remember that we are talking about Salesforce Connect. Okay, so when you wanted to integrate, I do understand that as per the question, the integration with the back office system do not exist, but they say, but if you remember this point, Universal Container owns license to the Salesforce Connect. So what that means is that they can use Salesforce Connect, and using Salesforce Connect, you can integrate an external system to your Salesforce, provided they support, connectors like OData 2, OData 4. You can build custom adapters though, right? But I presume that this question assumes that they have necessary endpoint support from a legacy system so that universal containers can use Salesforce Connect. So I would presume that that already in place. So given that context, I will roll off. I will cross off point number one. That's the A, because we're not going to use the custom code, right? So that's gone from the list. Now integrate the back office system using Salesforce Connect. That seems like a legitimate option to me because, like I said, we already have a license. So why go for a different one, right? So the B part seems like a good option. C, integrate the pricing you by configuring external user to make it available in the community. Okay. Integrate the pricing and coding tool by creating custom code. Okay, so we're not talking about custom code, right? So the moment you see a custom code, that means extra maintenance, extra cost, knock it off. So D is gone. So obviously when the D is gone, we're left with C. So the answer to the question is B and C. This is the way you can pin down to the exact answer to the question. I do this most of the time when I appear for certification. And I'll be honest with you that I've given lots of certification and I haven't failed. I mean, I failed once in one certification um, because the reason why I failed, not in the Experience Cloud. I mean, the reason why I failed because I was in a hurry and I had something to do, and it was Friday, and I don't know, I had a release deployment something planned, and I just thought, okay, I will smash it straight away. And things were not going very well at work at release deployment, so I was not in a very good state of mind, and was under tremendous pressure from a customer. So I screwed up the certification. So that's the reason why I always take certification in the night, right after hours. So it's easy for me. So after that, I never failed in any Salesforce certification. I always managed to clear it. But the reason why I could do that because that's exactly the technique I'm teaching you, like how you can isolate the question. But for that, you need to have a good understanding of the platform. Without that, you can't do it. So, right, okay. So Salesforce admin needs to add reputation to the homepage in the customer service community. Okay, customer service community. Okay, that's Experience Cloud. They wanted to add reputation to homepage. The reputation points and levels have been created. Okay, reputation component. All right. What should the Salesforce admin do in Community Builder to accomplish this? So we have a builder, right? So remember when you go to the setup digital option, right, and all site, you will see your site. They have workspace in the builder. You click on the builder, it takes you to your Experience Cloud site. And on the right hand side, you have an option of component list. I mean, it's like a builder screen, right? And you can add and drag and drop the component. So you can drag and drop a component. That's exactly what we're talking here. So create a Lightning component and add to the home page. Yeah, that's one option, but okay, keep it aside. Drag and drop the repetition leaderboard um, to the home page. And okay, so we have if you remember the leaderboard, I don't know if I think I haven't mentioned. It's an app exchange product. You can look for a reputation leaderboard. It's an app exchange product. I guess it's free. You can drag and drop that. You can install that component, and then you can drag and drop. There are a couple of reputation leaderboard components which you can find in App Exchange. So you can install it and then you can drag and drop to the component. So it's an out of box. You can find it using App Exchange. It's free. So you don't really have to worry about the custom code here, right? So the B option seems like a legitimate option here, but I'll wait. Generic component, it doesn't make any sense. Chatter, what does the chatter do? Because the chatter got nothing to do with we're talking about the readable component. We're not the reputation points, and so chatter, and that doesn't really fit the requirement. So chatter gone, generic component make no sense to me, so it's gone. Lightning component can be a good option though, right? Though I would say that you can create your own lightning component and drag it. Okay, that option is there, right? You can do it. I'm not saying you can't do it. I mean, this is one option. Depends on the requirement, right? But in this case, we're talking about the low code. So when you're talking about the low code, right, you always have to. Yes, I mean, if I like from a developer perspective, if you're giving a developer certification, the Lightning component one will be the right choice in this context, in that context. But in this context, the Lightning component is not a great choice because when there is already a repetition leaderboard component on the App Exchange, which is free, you can use it, right? So you don't have to pay your developers. You don't. The client don't really have to pay developers extra money to build an LWC component and drag and drop. You can, but you don't have to. So in my opinion, it will be B. Okay. So think about from a certification point of view, right? Are you really giving a dev cert or are you giving a functional cert, right? We're not. This is not a developer. It's not a coding cert. So, so the answer will not. So there is no right and wrong in this context, right? To be very honest, because the reason why I'm saying this, some companies would have their own in-house custom-built component which you can use it, so they would prefer not to uh, use the third-party component from App Exchange. And some companies where they don't have any developers, they will look for an alternative solution in App Exchange. So it varies, okay? But in this context, B is the right one. Okay. So Northern Trail Outfitters has a customer community for viewing discussions and knowledge article. Okay. They have an experience cloud for discussion and knowledge article, like service portal, right? For instance, customer support team needs to add custom fields on articles for internal components. Okay, so we're talking about adding extra fields, internal comments, and additional reference. So they wanted to customize the object. What's the most efficient way for Salesforce admin to hide the custom field from customers? So basically, what they wanted to do, they wanted to add, so you have a portal, right? Like a service portal where the customer often, take part in the discussion and they view the knowledge article, but there's a requirement where they wanted to capture more information on the article object. So they wanted to add extra fields, but the requirement is they wanted to hide those fields from the customers. How did you do that? Okay, let's look at the options. Create separate articles without these custom fields for customer channels. Um, okay, so when you get this kind of questions, right, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? I mean, obviously you have done the Salesforce admin course. You've taken the Salesforce certification, admin certification. You would know that we are talking about an access security based model question. Means who should have access to what field. So we in Salesforce we have something called field level security, right? And the field level security you can drive using profiles. Okay. So let's say you have a profile, right? And you don't want a user belonging to that profile. You don't want it to give access, right? Um, to that specific use to the users belonging to the profile. All you have to do, you just have to make the field non-visible for that user, so the field won't be visible. So that's you might have seen, right, when you create a custom object. Sorry, when you create a field in a custom object, you create it, you add it, and then it will give you an option to select profile, which profiles you want to give visible or read access. So if you mark certain profiles as a invisible, then the user belonging to that profile will not have access. So this is a security based question, right? So your brain should think from that perspective. So let's look at, so you should be prepared you should be in a state of mind to assume, okay, this is security based. So my answer should be around that context. Okay. So create separate article without those custom field makes no sense, right? This is rubbish. So knock it off. Update the customer profile by removing access to the custom field in all this article type. So what did that tell you? When you create a custom object, right? You have option to make to certain field invisible to a certain profile. So that's exactly what it's talking about. So B seems like a legitimate answer to me, but let's look at other options. Modify the article with custom. No, that makes no freaking sense. Or override the article. No, that's also make no sense. So B is the right one. This is the most simplest question you will get. Remember that you might get the similar question, but with the difference is that instead of community, they might say, "Hey, Experience Cloud," or you might even find community-based question. Sometimes Salesforce, those the people who certifications, they're lazy buggers, right? They, some of the questions like they have a lot of grammatical mistakes. I've seen some of them like very old. Like even for instance, if you're taking Platform Dev 1, you still ask Visual Force questions. I just sometimes wonder why, right? But Universal Containers wants to launch a community where customers can complete a registration form to gain access to the community. Okay, so here we're dealing with giving an option to customer to fill a form. Okay, how should a Salesforce admin add this capability to community? Okay, so basically, what they wanted to do, we are talking about the login option here. Okay, when I talk about the registration option, means the user should be able to uh, self-register. Okay, if you remember, if you have taken my one of the series where I spoke about the login option, right, where how you can enable the self-registration option for the user, right? When you go to that admin and then the login option, then if you remember that you can create the custom code behind the scene, right, by clicking an option, um, by creating a registration handler, and when you save it, the Salesforce will automatically create an Apex class behind the scene. So we are talking about external user to self-register in the community. So use the registration form. No, you're not talking about that. That's wrong. Enable the option. Okay. Create a publicly custom page. No, that's not right. Implement a web to web form. This is rubbish. So DC is all gone. So it's B. So, like I said, right, this is a pretty straightforward question. You shouldn't be struggling if you get this kind of question. This is the most easiest question. If you're struggling to answer a question like this, then I'm afraid you're not prepared for the certification. I've seen a trend. Okay, so I'll tell you just in a second. So that's pretty much I wanted to cover. It's 5 questions. I hope it's pretty simple, right? Though I've showed you how you can tackle any questions you get in your certification. You just need to have a decent understanding of the platform, right? In this case, you need to have a decent understanding of an Experience Cloud concepts, right, and the stuff associated with it. And that's the reason why it took long for me to cover the course. And like I said, right, I make most of the course free because my main interest is to teach people in the right way and just to motivate them so that and just to tell and also tell them the truth, right? The truth is certification for the sake of certification, it's just a waste of time. Okay. I've seen people, they just take certification with the brute force means they do the guesswork and they say, hey, I'll clear the certification. That's pointless in my opinion, right? Because if you say for instance, if you take 10 to 15 certification with no experience, you go and go to a client side as a consultant, then if you start showing bad results, right? If you start performing really bad, the customer will say, "Hey, adios, mate. You're not good enough for the project. We don't want you." And when you as a consulting firm get such information, you have two choice: either to remove either to upskill the person and try to find a different project or let them go. So that's one of the thing. That's the reason why I started the certification course to teach people, to encourage them to study hard, do hands-on, form a study group, and then go and smash the certification. Right? Like I'm pretty sure if you've been following along, if you're doing lots of hands-on, you will smash it in the first try. You don't need to really, you need to use a brute force technique, unlike people who don't really pay much attention and don't study and just, okay, let's go and smash it. That's not how it works, right? And what are you going to do when you're going to implement the real experience cloud side? If you don't have understanding of what sharing sets are, how to delegate, authentication to an external user, or if you don't know how to build a site, how to do something like self-registration, you will end up in frustrating another people in the team as well as your customer. So just keep this thing in mind, right? If you're not ready, you can always extend your certification. You don't have to take like two certs in a month. That's madness to me, right? I tell you, right? I've been working on Salesforce platform for quite a while, and I don't have much certs. And like when my boss hired me for the first time, right? When I last year when I joined this company, like one of the big four, I mean, my boss didn't even care about the certification. He asked, "Hey, what are you working on?" I said, "Hey, look, I'm working on this company as an architect." He just briefly talked about the stuff I worked. I mean, though I couldn't discuss because of NDA, but I just gave it. He didn't ask me any technical questions, to be honest, because your experience should talk, right? And then I had a technical round. It just was a casual round. He asked me a few questions around, if you know the concept on object oriented, that's just a cakewalk because I've been a programmer for most of my life. So, and he just like, okay, let's talk casually. Then the interview was like finished in like half an hour. And then here you go. I just got an offer, right? And then I've been working here for the past 1 year and I'm trying to do stuff, as long as, my concept is that, right? As long as I'm having fun and adding value to the customer, I'm happy to work the place where I am. If I'm not going to have fun, I realize I'm not going to add value to customer project or to company, I will leave because, I don't care in general, about, the title or these are rubbish to me, right? Because I'm a founder. I run my own company, right? It's for me, the money is not a problem, right? I do this stuff because of fun, right? Because I wanted to add value to the customer. And I've seen that how much value I've added in terms of the COVID project I work on. When a customer comes to you and say, "Hey, you have made a big impact in terms of people entering New Zealand and other stuff," right? It matters to me a lot. For me, money and title, this is all primitive people mindset. Like we are in 21st century, we should be evolved as a human race, not sticking to you know, I just don't want to talk about philosophy, though I'm a great fan of Immanuel Kant and, other German philosophers in Plato and Socrates. I read a lot of philosophy, it just changed me as a person. Um, so the reason why I'm trying to say this to you, no matter what you do, right, no matter what search you do, just try to have fun. That's the most important. That's the key component. That's the underlying foundation. Have fun. Without fun, it's gonna become like a chore. If you're gonna do a chore, you'll not do to the perfection. If you can't do things to the perfection, just don't do it. Do something else, right? We have a lot of mediocre and below performers, and then when the layoff happens, just go to the social media, say I've been laid off. Well, companies don't care. Employees are just an expense on a balance sheet. This is what an investor told me, right? They said we are here to make profit. We honestly don't care. That's exactly my investor told me, right? You gotta make a profit for me. We're gonna like if you're not gonna profit for you, don't care your founder or CEO will fire you. This is the world we live in. So and you tell to people they get offended because people don't like to hear the truth, but just because you close your ear, truth won't change. It still remains the same, right? That's look at Google, look at Microsoft. They don't care. I mean, you're just like I say, you're just an expense on a balance sheet. That's it. And if the money you're making, let's say you make 200K, right? And if you're making 200K and if you're not adding profit, right? If the return of investment from you is not, it's at least it should be 50% more than what you make. So let's say if you make 200, you should be bringing them at least 300,000 worth of profit every year or half a million. If you're not, then you become a liability and they don't care. They just get rid of you. Because after all, at the end of the day, companies are not to do charity. People just don't understand it because it says in your employment contract, right? You do the work, You bring the profit, you add value to the stuff, the company will keep you. If not, you're out. It's just a simple science. And I still struggle to understand why people find it so hard to accept the truth, because either they don't read the contract letter, what they've been given to them, which says the company can terminate, or the other party can terminate by giving 4 weeks, or make them redundant. At least in New Zealand, I don't know about the other parts. The New Zealand, America has severance package, like 6 months of pay or whatever. In New Zealand, we don't. You just out after 4 weeks. They give you 4 weeks of notice. You just bugger off. But that's what it is, right? I mean, it's just 9 to 5 comes with pros and cons. Or if you're scared, you just start your own company like I did. Right? Everything is possible. You just need to find a way. You just need to find your passion. Just don't stick with the people who tells you can't do it. Just hang out with the people who tells you the things you can do, right? Yeah. So that's pretty much I wanted to cover. The reason why I said I just wanted to motivate you guys, right? You guys are really talented people, right? Just don't go with the flow, right? Just find a way, just find your passion, just do smash it, right? Just one life. You're spending every day some part of your life, which is your time, away from your family, away from the people you love, just to do the stuff, right? Might as well do it in a better way, right? Otherwise, it's not worth, right? Spending time away from your family and doing the stuff that you don't enjoy. Why bother, right? The time is the most critical component in your life. Nothing else matters, right? Because once you're dead, who cares? That's what it is. So yeah, that's pretty much I wanted to talk in this episode. Yeah, hope you guys have an amazing Saturday. And sorry for my rant. Just thought to mention it. So many people these days they just complain too much, and just thought to say stop complaining and just do the stuff. That's pretty much it. Adios.